I kind of want to start with Rollin. He is the director of research for HeartMath Institute, many of you know, and he's also one of the founding partners of the Global Coherence Pulse. And Rollin, I thought I would just put you on the spot and say, why should we cultivate coherence in community? Like, what is that going to do for us from your perspective?
Well, gee, Teresa, you are putting me on the spot there.
I am
I
putting
knew
you
you were
on
going to
the
ask me that.
spot.
But that's all right. Well, God, there's so many ways we can answer that. But I think what I'm being drawn to say right in this moment is that our brains and hearts, especially hearts, are wired for connection, for community. And, just from, being the scientist, I always got to bring some science in. And that's really being quite confirmed. And a new, some of you may not be aware of it, but a new theory called social baseline theory, which is doing some really neat experiments that tie in with our work that really demonstrate that. And I talk a lot about baselines, and the shift in consciousness, and that what we're really aiming to do is raise our consciousness baseline, not just when we have inspirations or come together, but it's really how we face the world, so to speak, how we navigate the world. Are we really able to shift our baseline to where it's one of more love, kindness, compassion, connections with others, heart connections. And social baseline theory extends some of the baseline work at the individual level we've been doing for years. And it says that basically we have social baselines, and this is what our brains are wired how to operate. And I won't go into a lot of depth here, but for example, when we are alone, or we even feel alone, we could be in a crowd of people and feel alone, our brains are using more energy. It's not the familiar, and that we perceive that as a stressor, and that's correlated with so many bad outcomes, let's say, in our health, our wellness, our happiness. So our brain really literally perceives social connections, high quality social connections, as energy, like glucose. I mean, you can actually measure similar things. And one of my favorite studies that some of you may have heard this before, but some may not, out of this line of work is when they have a person stand at a hill, and you have this little device that you put your hand in, and you try and measure. You have to match your hand to the slope of the hill, right? And most people perceive the hill being steeper than it is. This is with the intent you're going to go climb the hill, right? Even though you don't really have to go do it. And then they put a backpack on the person, and you start adding weight, and guess what happens? Your perception of the steepness of the hill changes, right? And the more weight you put in, the steeper the hill you perceive, and it's almost a linear relationship. But the really neat part is when you put a friend next to them, standing next to them, their perception of the steepness of the hill goes down. And it's almost a linear relationship to the change in perception to how close the friendship is. The more you trust them and the more bonded you are with them. So this is I like this experiment because it really demonstrates how the quality of our relationships, our connections, and our community literally is modifying how we perceive the world, not just hills, right? Everything we do is going through this unconscious filter, this perception. And as I said, it could be in a crowd of people. It's the feeling of being alone or not connected with others has just as much power as actually being alone physically. So a lot of our work, as a lot of you probably know, is showing what connects us is literally love. But it's especially the kind of love that we ground, that we take into the world. Are we more kind? Do we have more latitude, compassionate latitude for others in our day-to-day interactions with others and with ourselves? And we are in an age, I believe, where we are going through a rapid evolution in consciousness. It's really a tipping point that's happening as we increase our vibration. And if that's happening, something should be different, right, than the same thing. So we're seeing our consciousness, our awareness elevate. And sometimes the mind doesn't like that. It's very used to being in control. So the mind finally having to integrate the intelligence of the heart. And it's kicks and screams, kind of a fun way of saying it that our founder, Dr. Childrey, once said is it doesn't want to lose customers, right? It's used to being in charge for thousands of years. So we have to do some work. when it really gets down to it. And oftentimes, for a conscious to elevate, we know that love connects us, and we can actually measure that now, which is really awesome, in terms of synchronization between people, even non-locally. But the mind likes to judge. It likes to blame. Even those of us that have been on let's say, the spiritual path for many years, well, there's still deeper levels to go if we really are honest. And I think look under the radar, the histories, the biases we have, the good bads, the emotional undercurrents, the comparisons, and of course many more. But these are the things that we kind of have to roll up our sleeves. And as we really unfold the heart, the heart is really the power to finally bring the mind and emotions into alignment with our larger self. And so that's, I think, the work we really have to do to really build the next level of community and our conscious evolution. So hopefully that's probably not an answer. I had no idea what I was going to say, but thanks for the question, Teresa.
I love putting